They're coming.
Heinrich whispered to Klaus, his grandson.
They always come.
The bonfire cast long shadows across the valley as old Heinrich Schmidt stood at the edge of the Harz forest, his weathered face illuminated by the dancing flames. It was April the 30th, 1938, Walpurgisnacht, and for 70 years he had kept watch on this night. But would this be his last vigil? The boy, barely 16, shivered despite the warmth of the fire. He'd heard his grandfather's tales his entire life, but had dismissed them as the ramblings of a superstitious old man. Yet tonight, something in the air felt different. Electric. Expectant. Heinrich had been born in a small village near the Brocken Mountain in 1868. The same year his own grandmother had disappeared during the Walpurgis celebrations. The official story was that she had fallen from the mountain path while gathering herbs. But the villagers whispered other theories. They said she had seen something she shouldn't have seen, that she had witnessed the witch's Sabbath.
My grandmother was no fool.
Heinrich told Klaus, his voice barely audible above the crackling flames.
She was the village healer, respected by all. She knew every path on this mountain blindfolded.
According to family legend, Heinrich's grandmother had left a journal hidden beneath the floorboards of her cottage. In it, she documented strange occurrences around the Brocken, unexplained lights, voices on the wind, and footprints that appeared and vanished overnight.
She votes that Walpurgisnacht isn't what we've been told,
Heinrich continued, his eyes reflecting the firelight. The old man explained how the ancient Germanic and Celtic peoples had celebrated this night long before Christianity arrived. They called it a different name, Maeve, Beltane, but its purpose remained constant, to mark the boundary between winter and summer, between death and life, between this world and the next.
The bonfires weren't just for warmth or celebration,
Heinrich said, gesturing to the flames before them.
They were boundaries to keep the worlds apart.
According to Heinrich's grandmother, the night held a terrible secret. The witches weren't flying to Sabbaths. They were fleeing from something that hunted them. The bonfires weren't meant to ward off witches, but to protect them from creatures that emerged when the veil between worlds thinned.
She called them the Watchers.
Heinrich whispered.
Neither dead nor alive, neither divine nor damned. They watched from the spaces between worlds. And on Walpurgisnacht, they could step through.
As midnight approached, Heinrich instructed Klaus to scatter sacred herbs, mugwort, St. John's wort and rowan berries in a circle around their bonfire. The old man explained that his grandmother had been researching these things when she vanished.
She believed she'd found a way to see them without being seen.
Heinrich said.
A mixture of herbs burned in the Beltane fire, observed through glass, treated by a secret mixture, and activated by dew collected at the dawn.
From his pocket, Heinrich produced a small, ancient-looking piece of glass in a handcrafted wooden frame.
Her seeing glass, I've kept it safe all these years, but never had the courage to use it.
The midnight hour struck. Heinrich raised the glass to his eye and peered through it at the surrounding darkness beyond their fire circle. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then his face paled.
They're here,
he whispered, his hand trembling.
all around us. They've always been here.
Klaus, seeing nothing but darkness, thought his grandfather had finally succumbed to madness. But then the fire flickered, not from the wind, but as if something had passed between them and the flames. Heinrich lowered the glass, his expression serene, despite the fear in his eyes.
Now, I understand why she disappeared. She saw too much. Knowledge has a price.
He pressed the seeing glass into Klaus's hand.
Don't look tonight, but keep it safe. Someone must always watch on Walpurgisnacht.
As dawn approached, Heinrich grew weaker, his breathing laboured. By the time the first light broke over the Brocken peak, the old man had gone peacefully and now lay as if asleep. The official cause was heart failure, not unexpected for a man of his age, but Klaus knew differently. His grandfather had seen something through that glass, something that had waited 70 years to claim him, just as it had claimed his grandmother. 50 years later, in 1988, as the Berlin Wall was weakening and Germany approached reunification, an elderly Klaus Schmidt was interviewed by folklorists documenting Walpurgis traditions in the Harz region. "Do you still maintain the bonfire vigil your family was known for?" they asked him. "Every year," Klaus replied, "and I have trained my granddaughter to continue after I'm gone." "And the seeing glass?" one researcher inquired. "The local museums would pay handsomely for such an artifact." Klaus smiled cryptically. "It was lost long ago. Perhaps it's better that way." What Klaus didn't tell them was that the glass wasn't lost. It sat in its cedar box beneath his bed, waiting for the right moment, the right person. What he also didn't mention was what happened when he finally looked through it 10 years after his grandfather's death, when his curiosity finally overcame his fear. He saw nothing supernatural, no creatures from between worlds, no watchers. Instead, he saw men, ordinary men in the uniforms of the secret police, moving silently through the forest, monitoring the bonfires, recording who attended the folk celebrations, and what was said between them. The true watchers weren't supernatural beings, but agents of control. First the church, then the state, each using fear of the other world to monitor this one. At least, that's what Klaus believed for decades. Until Walpurgisnacht 1988, when he looked through the glass one last time and saw something else entirely. Something that made him understand why his grandfather had insisted that the fires must never die, that someone must always watch the boundary between worlds. Something that to this day makes him wonder whether the watchers of the state were themselves being watched by something far older and far more patient. As for the glass, it awaits its next guardian, ready to reveal either terrible truth or magnificent delusion, depending entirely on which side of the bonfire one chooses to stand.